Welcome, everybody. This is our YMCA Chaplain Training, and we have some people here live, and we're also going to do this on video since so many of you couldn't be with us. And so you've got this video, and hopefully you've also got the documentation in front of you. If you don't have that yet, go ahead and stop this, send me an email, and we'll get you that at aaronshiv@gmail.com. So let's talk about the Y chaplaincy. At the very top of your paper, you see job description. Y chaplains are not necessarily licensed local pastors. We don't need you to have that type of formal training, but you are someone who has demonstrated the gifts, the skill sets to perform pastoral care. And what we mean by that is spend time listening to people, hear their story, ask good questions, lead them to Jesus, let them know that you do indeed care. Okay? Now, let me begin by saying, often what we're going to talk about with our Y chaplain training is what not to do. Because you probably already do most of what we want you to do as a Y chaplain naturally. So a lot of what we're going to do is, hey, here's the boundaries of what it means to be a chaplain versus, hey, I've become this person's best friend. You're not the Y's best friend. You're not responsible for everybody at the Y. And because we are people who give, we have trouble with boundaries sometimes. So I want to be clear that we'll spend a lot of time or as much time talking about what not to do as what to do. Ultimately, you'll see with the FX30K growth plan, our goal is that in 2030, that we've led 1,000 people into a relationship with Jesus. We've connected with them, whether they're existing church members or new church members. But in the next 9 years, we want to have 1,000 people that we've led into a relationship with Jesus. Now, that's a big goal, and you're a huge part of that right now as we talk about the chaplaincy program. The YMCA is a unique setting because it's actually where people who may not know Jesus are coming to you versus following the Great Commission where you have to go to the people. This is actually where they come to us. They actually come to our church there at the Y. So it's a great opportunity to be present where people are coming to you and actually may be looking for answers because they're in a safe place where they're actually now looking around and they see the chaplain, they see your shirt, we have shirts for you, and they go, hey, that person's probably safe to talk to. So let's go over a couple things for the church. The purpose of the church is to move people closer to Jesus. The mission of the church is to teach people to respond to life situations by asking one simple guiding question. You should know this one. What does love require of me in this situation? The vision of the church, then, as we talk about what's unique about Faith Ignited, we are a church where unchurched people want to be, where they want to invite their friends. We are a group of disciples that make other disciples, and we deliver a consistent message that enables people to evaluate their life with a biblical worldview, promoting both spiritual and emotional health. There's a lot of apologetics in there. The mission of the Y, then, is a little bit different, and the mission of the chaplains at the Y, and this comes from the Y's handbook, to put Christian principles into practice through programs that build healthy spirit, mind, and body for all. Now, what you'll see is that we start with the Church Great Commission, and we work our way kind of funneling down to what the Y does. And again, the Y is a Christian organization, or at least should be, YMCA. And you're part of the group that is working to keep the C in the YMCA. In fact, you may have been at a Y where there wasn't much C in the YMCA, but that's part of our goal here at this Y is to create that Christ-centered presence at the Y. In doing that, let me remind you, your first ministry group is always going to be the staff. Now, that may seem a little tricky because you may go, I thought we were here for the visitors or the members. Well, remember, the Y staff is caring for the other people. And the best way for you to build relationships with everybody is to have the Y staff like you and want them. You want them to be able to say, oh, hey, you should go talk to Doug, not don't talk to Doug, or don't talk to Michael. That's a bad idea. But you want the Y staff to recommend you as someone that others go to. Why? Because you've taken the time to build healthy, friendly relationships with the Y staff. So we're caring for the Y staff first, and then the Y members and other volunteers. Okay. Now, when we talk about putting principles into practice for the Y chaplains, we want to start by just reminding you, again, you're not a pastor. No worries. You don't have to know a bunch of deep theology. Rarely are you going to have someone come up to you and go, hey, can you translate this Greek verb for me? That's not what's going to happen. What we're wanting you to do is spend a lot of time listening to people. There are three main areas at the Y that we're going to invite you to walk and be present at: the doorway, the fitness center, and the gym. And if you kind of rotate through those areas, you've done a good job. Let me say that again. The entranceway, the fitness center, and the gym. Rotate through those three areas, listening to people, waving to people, saying hi to people, being friendly to people. Part of your goal is to just simply create a presence where people go, Faith Ignited's here. What you're doing is you're building a consistent time slot where we know, hey, on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Michael's here, or Thursday night at 6 p.m. Joe's here. And so people know, hey, at this time this person's here. And eventually they're going to reach a place where they want to talk to you. But it may take you being there several weeks before they finally go, I've seen you around a lot. They now trust you enough that you're consistently going to be there. You're not some stranger, a car salesman in and out. So your objectives are, first, to listen to people, then to care for people, be friendly towards people. If you get the opportunity, provide spiritual guidance and prayer, and again, be helpful to the staff. One of the things that I love to do in the weight room is I love to look around and say, oh, hey, somebody didn't move their weights back, and I'll move their weights, or I'll help wipe down a machine. I love to just be helpful to the staff. I want them to go, I'm glad those chaplains are around. Anytime somebody says, oh, hey, we need to go get this, I want to be one of the first. Hey, I can do that. I want to be helpful. I want to be a servant to everybody that's there and serve everybody to the best of my abilities. And finally, number 6, and most importantly, demonstrate Christ and his values to the YMCA. And at all times, you represent not only Faith Ignited, but you represent Christ. And when you leave wearing that shirt, you represent the Y, Christ, and Faith Ignited. Kind of the holy trinity of representation there. The Y core values, of course, that you may or may not know, but I think it's important for our chaplains that at least have said, yeah, I've seen these, are caring, honesty, respect, responsibility, and faith in all functions. Caring, honesty, respect, responsibility, and faith. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to support these values. These are biblical values. They make sense. They're not necessarily going to lead someone all the way to Jesus, but it helps us begin to go, all right, this is out of a moral framework that has a Judeo-Christian worldview. Each chaplain is able to schedule your own hours that you want to volunteer to serve. And just because you're scheduled doesn't mean you're locked in life or death. I understand things come up. But we'd like you to be as consistent as possible. And relationships are built on trust. And so the first way to build trust is to be present, to know that at this time of day, on a regular basis, whether it's weekly or monthly, you're going to be there. Now, obviously, if you're there weekly, you'll build trust much quicker. If you're there monthly, it's going to take even longer. But again, your face needs to become familiar enough that people go, I know who that is. If I have a situation come up, I can go talk to them. Does that make sense? Everybody good? You good? All right. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're just encouraging you to say, hey, I can do this hour or two block every week at this time. If you want to go 2 or 3 hours, that's fine. Or if you want to go 2 hours every other day, like a Tuesday and Thursday, that's fine. We just want to invite you to create a consistent schedule where you know you're going to be there. Then, again, we don't have the shirts present, but wear your shirt. It says Faith Ignited right here. It's a nice polo. You're obviously something unique to the Y, because not everybody else is walking around the weight room wearing a nice polo or having the Faith Ignited logo on them. All right, a couple things that each chaplain is going to have to do if you haven't already done so. You got to undergo our church background check. We'd like you to undergo the Safe Sanctuaries training. Our next round of training is in August, so we'll be doing that as well. Our guidelines for safety. So this is part of Safe Sanctuaries, but I'm giving you the heads up now doing the chaplain training. Ready? Never be alone with anybody. It's that simple. We're really trying to protect you from what other craziness may be out there. Not that you want to be alone with someone, but hey, next thing you know, you found yourself alone in a room with someone. It's like you should have warning lights all over the place. Never let someone say, can I speak to you alone? And you go, yeah, and close the door. If you want to speak to someone alone, there are corners of the building that you can go to. There are spaces that are far enough away that no one can hear what you're saying, but you're still visibly present. The reason being is, again, you represent the church, and you represent yourself, and you represent Jesus. And unfortunately, because of those three things, there's a target on you already. And so we want to protect you, and that you would say, I've never been alone. I've never been in whatever room someone might say with this person. Again, I'd love to tell you that's not going to ever happen, but we want to live above reproach in all things, and it could. And the best way for us to say, hey, that's not possible, is you've obeyed all this. Of course, the Y has video cameras as well. That'll help us validate that. But again, you just get into a practice of, I'm never alone. So if someone needs you to go get something out of a room, great. Doors open, you walk in and get it. If they want to come in and talk to you and you're back in like the corner exercise room, just, hey, let's step out in the hallway. We just kind of have this policy. We're never going to be alone in a room, even with the door open. If we're back in some corner of the building, we don't want to do that. Do not give out personal information to strangers. The YMCA is a little unique in that you have to be a member to go there regularly. There are days for visitation. So what you don't see is a lot of, if you will, homeless people or people in extreme need, because the YMCA, while they give out scholarships, it's a membership. You have to be able to get there, and it's not your street church. Not that that's bad, but my point being is this, is that we're not going to see a lot of people that are wanting your information, but if you again, develop that relationship with someone and they begin to become extra needy, what you don't want is them calling you on a regular basis and putting you in that situation where you have trouble saying no yet again and again and again and again. Listen, later, if after a half a year you're really great friends with Joe or Sue and you guys hit it off and you want to meet at the coffee shop, that's great. But at the Y, while we're working, we're not giving out our personal information. Always be respectful. Again, even if someone's yelling at you, the Y does attract crazy people, just like every church. And so every once in a while you end up with someone who just kind of is unleashing, and everybody in the staff, and as the chaplain should be, is kind of like, all right, I don't know why they're yelling, but I'm still going to be respectful to them. I don't need to engage in an arguing match. Always be aware of your surroundings. One of the things that we need to be aware and careful with is that there could be someone in the Y who's intentionally out to harm people. And so we say don't be in a room alone with someone, but also just be aware as you're looking around that, hey, so-and-so just went in a room alone with somebody else. That's not going to be good. Especially if you see teenagers. One of the challenges with the Y is that they constantly are battling the issue of, we have these teenagers with hormones bouncing everywhere and their parents trust them at the Y. Well, now the Y has to babysit and care for them. And so we need to be careful and watch where other people are going, not just you. So be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of, hey, so-and-so looks like they're not doing well. And part of the chaplain's job will be able to be recognized that when someone comes in, you've seen them the last 5 weeks, and suddenly today they look like the weight of the world's on their shoulders. So be aware of the people in your surroundings and go, hey, you doing okay? That simple, just checking in with someone is one of the greatest gifts a chaplain gives. You doing okay? How you doing? How you doing? You made contact with someone who may be at the Y, who the only contact they have all week because they live alone with their cats and they're on an online job is you. And you have literally just saved their life or changed their whole perspective on life by simply asking, how you doing? That's why being at the door is important, in the gym or in the fitness center. These are places with high traffic where people are moving by and you have the ability to just say, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, good to see you. I want you to know we care. Okay? Obey the Y guidelines. They're not complicated. They're common sense. But just want to invite you to obey the YMCA guidelines. And finally, do not offer rides or money to anyone. If they need a ride, they can get a bus. All right, and if they need money, we could have a conversation as a church about doing some kind of a fund for them. But we don't want to put any of our chaplains in the awkward position that they feel like they need to give money. And so when someone says, hey, I really need $5, you can simply say, look, it's against our rules as part of the chaplaincy program to give out any money. Even though you may want to, it's just against the rules. You can't do it. And part of that's because, again, now we introduced ourselves maybe into a dysfunctional relationship where someone's constantly coming back wanting, hey, you helped me out last week. Hey, you helped me out last week. And again, you don't have to be an extremely broken person to go, hey, I finally found a piggy bank here. So just don't give out money and don't offer rides to anybody, and we're going to be okay. And again, your protection is it's part of the chaplaincy program. You can't do that. You can't offer that. Okay? Now, what can we offer, though? Well, we have a counselor on staff at the church, and you can give her card out. It's Marcia Bridges, and we are getting an office site at the Y. We don't have it yet, but if you're part of the chaplain program, we'll give you a stack of her business cards, and you can give those out to someone that you go, I think we really need to get you more help. Here's Marcia's card. Would you call her? Or if you're in the middle of a conversation and you suddenly realize, hey, I don't have the skills to work with this person. Good for you. Good for you to recognize your boundary and go, I'm not really gifted over here. I give out Marcia's cards all the time because I'm not a counselor. And if that's what you need, you don't really want me. I'm a coach. I'm going to give you like 3 things to fix it, move forward. We're going to be better in like a week, right? And so I don't really have the time or desire to sit there and talk with you about your childhood and all the things that go on. Do I know how to do that? Yeah, but that's not my gifted area. And so one of my boundaries is I quickly, hey, this sounds like life's pretty tough. I'm going to listen to you for a while. I'm going to give you Marcia's card. Why? Well, she's good at it. That's what she's gifted at. And I don't want to take away Marcia's gift to be able to do this. Now, if you're part of the chaplaincy program, you're probably good at listening. You may even be an excellent coach like me, ready to help people and ready to step in and say, hey, I have 3 ideas for you. But there are people who just need that extra level of care, and Marcia's going to be able to provide that. She gives out a free service. So when somebody says, oh, I can't afford someone, well, the church is taking care of that. You can say, look, this is a service through our church. You call her. It's a free service through the church. And then we let Marcia worry about her own boundaries. I know you can handle it, Marcia, else I wouldn't say that. All right? So again, we have the counseling cards that are also in the desk at the YMCA, and don't hesitate to give out her card in a hurry. You can also give out my card as a pastor and say, hey, our pastor would be willing to talk to you. Again, one of the beautiful things about the Y Chaplaincy program is you don't have to know it all. So if you get into a situation where someone's asking you theological questions, you're like, I don't really know. It's okay. Good for you. Again, recognize your boundaries. And maybe we sit down, the 3 of us. If you are like, hey, he's asking good questions, I want to know the answers too. We'll get a meeting between the 3 of us, and I'll buy you both coffee, and we'll talk about it, and we'll have that conversation. Again, I'm not even afraid to say I don't know. I do it all the time. I say to individuals on a regular basis, I don't know the answer to that. Give me some time. I'll look it up. Or I don't think there's going to be an answer until Jesus returns. So never be afraid to say no. Never be afraid to, again, establish healthy boundaries. Don't put yourself in a position that's awkward or where you go, hey, this is just, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. So let me remind you, guard your marriages, guard your boundaries, and then pour out into others. Now, that may sound like those are 2 different things to say, but it's really what healthy ministry looks like. Here's my boundaries. Here's my marriage. Here's my family. Here's my time. I got to protect all this stuff. This stuff's important. This stuff's first. Once I've done this, then I can pour out into others in healthy ways. And remember, I love this quote from Andy Stanley. My job's never to fill someone else's cup. My job's simply to empty mine. Let me say it one more time, because as chaplains, we need to hear this. Your job is not to fill someone else's cup. Your job is just to empty yours. Hey, I hope this helps. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. Send me email, send me some kind of Twitter or text message. You should have my phone number. It's 937-543-2492 if you don't have it. And if you get into a situation where you have any questions, feel free to call. We'll work it out. All right. Have a blessed day, guys. Thank you for volunteering to serve on our chaplain committee. Bye.